Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Here are the headlines of our news editions from TV channels. An operating theater and magnetic resonance imaging room were inaugurated this morning at Belti Hospital. On continental news, Democratic Republic of Congo, the final list of presidential candidates published. That were our top stories, and now let's get to the detail. Prime Minister Abdulqadir Kamil Mohammed has inaugurated this morning a complex of operating blocks at the General Belti Hospital, financed thanks to the generous personal contribution of the President of the Republic, His Excellency Mr. Ismail Omar Guelleh. These new operating blocks will contribute enormously to the modernizations of the technical platform and the reinforce of the capacity of the Belti General Hospital. Welcome on arrival by the Minister of Health and the Director General of the Belti Hospital, Mr. Hussein Mohammed Hussein. The Prime Minister, Mr. Abdulqadir Kamil Mohammed, reviewed the Guard of Honor formed by the whole medical and surgical body of Belti Hospital. And after the traditional cut of the inaugural ribbon, the Prime Minister Abdulqadir Kamil Mohammed proceeded to the visit of the new premises under the explanations of the director of the hospital. The Prime Minister visited the new complex that's composed of 4 operating rooms arranged according to the specialized such as orthopedics, urology, physical surgery, in fact equipped with the state-of-the-art medical devices and state-of-the-art surgical instruments. This brand new block will further enhance the quality of the technical platform aimed at improving the quantitative and the qualitative management of the patients at risk. It also has 2 recovery rooms, sterilization rooms and administrative office to meet the quality requirement and international standards of surgical blocks. After the new complex of operating theater, Prime Minister Mr. Abdulqadir Kamil Mohammed also commissioned the first Belti Hospital MRI. The Prime Minister removed the inaugural plaque in the presence of the Minister of Health and many executives and officials of the Department of Health. It should be noted that this first ever MRI was required thanks to the precious financial support of the Saudi development, which actively participated in the development of our health system. And during their visit, the Prime Minister and the Minister of Health listened attentively to the explanations provided by radiologist Dr. Farida on the beneficials and tangible advances achieved in the field of medical diagnostics thanks to the use of magnetic resonance imaging. For his part, the Minister of Health said that all these new acquisitions of high precision investigative devices contribute to the improvement of preventive and curative benefits for the therapeutic management of non-communication diseases such as tumoral pathologies. For his part, the director of the Belti Hospital, Mr. Hussein Mohammed Hussein, said that the inaugurations of the new specialized services are a crucial step in the development and modernization plan of the General Belti Hospital, which plays a leading role in the national health system. In his speech, the Prime Minister, Mr. Abdulqadir Kamil Mohammed, underlined the importance of putting these new state-of-the-art medical facilities into operation for the care of patients. The Prime Minister has also called for greater attention to the issue of maintenance in order to ensure the durability of these medical devices. The Speaker of the National Assembly was received in Baku, Azerbaijan by his counterpart Oktay Azdav on the afternoon of Wednesday. The official visit comes on the occasion of the celebrations of the 100 anniversary of the founding of the Azerbaijan Parliament, to which the President of the Djibouti Parliament is invited to participate with a delegation of Djibouti parliamentarians composed of Honorable Ahmed Hassan and Hadi Debarkali. This is an opportunity for the two presidents to meet again for the second time in Baku and discuss the strengthening of bilateral relations and development of cooperation between the parliamentarians and two friendly countries. The two men welcome the convergence of view on many issues between the two leaders of the two countries and the multifaceted issues that exist between Azerbaijan and Djibouti, including the rise of economic cooperation between the two countries. Referring to the importance of high-level reciprocal visits in terms of development relations between the two states, the speaker stressed that Azerbaijan and Djibouti also supported themselves in international organization. It was last Friday a lioness escaped Deccan shelter and May 3 wandered among residents. After several hours of tracking and persecution, the National Gendarmerie managed to master the peace the next day at the first hour, but many questions remained unanswered about how the lioness was able to leave her enclosure. To provide some answer, our team was able to conduct us on investigation into this case. Let's watch this report.
The Deccan refugee a center for animal protection or a refugee from uncertainty in any case? These are the questions the Djiboutian people have been asking since the tragic events of last weekend. For the second time, a lion escaped and makes 3 serious injuries before being neutralized by the National Gendarmerie Saturday at 7 a.m. It was through this bridge in the vents that the lioness escaped. There is no doubt of it, as confirmed by the traces of its fur on the grill. So, how did this bridge open? Is the lioness able to do it alone, or is it an act of sabotage to discredit the center? For the deputy prefect of the locality of the Mirjouk, who complains not to be part of the safety commission, it is purely and simply a management failure.
Non, je suis pas partie de cette commission. D'abord,
first of all, I'm not part of this commission, but I attended this inauguration of the first lion's fence. That day we asked a deputy prefect to make a second fence, but Dr. France did not listen. What we have seen now is a failure.
Almost a month ago, to the great surprise of Dr. Bertrand Lafrance, president of the association Deccan, which manages the shelter, a healthy lion was found dead, while a bridge opens and a lioness leaves the shelter. As a veterinarian straddling the animal behavior, it is almost impossible for the lioness to have been able to damage the new fence, whose safety has been checked several times to create an exit and to be in the wild, says Dr. Lafrance.
Effectivement, c'est très curieux parce que quand on m'a appelé vers 1 heure du matin,
it is very curious because when I was called around 1 a.m. I thought it was first a hoax because our enclosure was just finished and it was checked by the safety commission. So it's almost impossible for a lion to come out of it like this, and we can see that there is a separation between 2 pieces of wire.
To make sure that the lioness was unable to undo the rings, even under heavy pressure, we wanted to have an independent opinion who spoke on condition of anonymity, rejected this conception.
No. From the pictures I saw, someone did that. Cannot be an animal.
The Deccan Association has been approved by the Ministry of Environment and is part of the Safety Committee which deals with the control of fences. To understand if these control measures were followed, we went to the Department of the Environment, who after several minutes of waiting has politely declined our invitation, claiming that an investigation was in progress. This investigation is conducted by the OPJ of the National Gendarmerie.
We immediately opened an investigation to understand what happened, the reason why the lion escaped. How could it get out of the fence? It is for all these reasons and for justice to take action that this investigation is opened.
But already, the question of responsibility arises at all levels. Could we have done better to avoid such a situation? Why was the enclosure not protected by a double fence?
On pourrait faire beaucoup mieux, on peut toujours faire mieux.
We can do a lot better, and the problem is always the same thing. It is the money, because a fence is very expensive. The new enclosures of the lion cost practically of some 80,000 euros. The final decision is to be separated from the lion, because in Djibouti we are not ready.
Even if other alternatives like anesthetic darts were possible, the lioness was shot. Today, only Emilia remains, the last lioness of Douda Zoo. At a time when Djibouti has been singled out as the world capital of culture and tourism, closing the Deccan refuge or even prohibiting lions is far from a solution. This is the only place in Djibouti that is focused on many animal species. Reinforcing security, putting in place appropriate means, and increasing the controls of both fence and the instructions seems the best alternatives. Closing the shelter is a blow to the tourism sector in Djibouti.
The Minister Delegate in charge of decentralization, Mr. Hamadou Mohamed Aramis, went this morning to Arthur region in order to measure the progress of implementing the local taxations. He was accompanied by his principal collaborators after a courtesy visit to the prefect of the region, Mr. Abdullah Darar Okiye, and a working meeting at the headquarters of the regional council, where he was welcomed by the president of the regional council, Mr. Elmibouh Goudade. On this occasion, the minister inquired about the situations. He then urged local elected officials to get involved and make effort to ensure better tax collection. To this end, according to Minister Aramis, their activity should focus on raising the awareness of traders and notable by highlighting the fact that money collected from them will be reinvested in the development activities of their region. In addition, the Minister of Decentralization ensured the President and his committee of local elected officials of availability of his department to train them on the editing of projects. He did not fail to recall the particular interest that the head of state accorded to the success of these fiscal decentralizations, which should allow the emergences of both regional economic growth. After the meeting with the regional council, the minister went to the regional tax center. A major press conference in Tokyo, the president of the Authority of Poor and Free Zone, Mr. Abu Bakr Omar Hadi, visiting a few days in Japan, held on Tuesday, September 18, and the president of our ambassador to this country, Mr. Ahmed Al-Reita Ali, an important press conference. The press conference held at the Correspondent Club in Tokyo, the capital of Japan, was about telling the country's press and private sector representative about our country's strengths in infrastructure and investment opportunity. Our ambassador to Japan, Ahmed Al-Reita Ali, who accompanied the president of the Poor and Free Zone Authority at this press conference, spoke first. He emphasized the friendly and the fraternal ties existing between the Japanese and Djiboutian people, as well as the relation of corporations between the two governments. This relationship will be a further development because of the many pieces initiatives that have recently taken place in the East Africa region, he said at the hearing. In turn, the president of the Authority of Poor and Free Zone did not fail to emphasize the rapid development of our country in infrastructure, which is tends to become, he said, a regional economic hub through an electrical railroad linking our country to the neighboring Ethiopia, and the new Djibouti Free Trade Zone designed to transform Djibouti into a major platform in its Africa region. At the end of this conference, representatives of the private sector of this country showed that their interest is come to invest in Djibouti and explore the possibility of settling in the new international free zone. The Minister of National Education and Vocational Training, Mr. Mustafa Mohamed Mahmoud, received Wednesday afternoon a delegation of Global Partnership for education that depends on the World Bank. The minister and the delegation led by the resident representative, Mr. Atusek, discussed a lengthy strategic pretensions action plan for education, including the new project to transform the Djibouti school, which has been created with the funding of more than $26 million. The Secretary General of MINFO, Mr. Mohamed Abdullah Mahyoub, the Inspector General and the Executive Secretary, Mrs. Muna Ismail Abdu and Ayan Usman Abrar, as well as many senior officials from the Ministerial Department, took part in the meeting. In a short intervention, the Minister reviewed the 4 strategic orientations such as quality, inclusive school, preschool education and good governance of the steering system to achieve the goals of the program of quality in teaching and learning. As part of the celebration of the International Day of the Protection of the Ozone Layer, the Minister of Housing, Urban Planning and Environment, through the Directorate of Environment and Sustainable Development, has organized today at the People's Palace an information and awareness workshop on the problem of ozone depletions for media professionals. This year, International Day for the Protection of the Ozone Layer's theme is Keep a Cool Head and Continue Our Effort. The Montreal Protocol, this theme is relying or urging us all to continue to the exemplary work we have done for the protection of the ozone layer and climate as part of the implementation of the Montreal Protocol. The opening ceremony of this workshop was co-chaired by Mr. Dini Abdullah Umar and Secretary General of the Ministry of Housing, Urban Planning and Environment, Mrs. Fatima, and Deputy Residence Representative of UNDP. The objective of the workshop is to synthesize journalists and media professionals who constitute an interface of disseminations and communication of information relating to the protections of the ozone layer. In total, about 20 journalists took part in this information and sensibilizations workshop. The Djibouti resident representative of UNDP on behalf of the United Nations System Coordinator read the message of the United Nations Secretary, who emphasized the importance of the Montreal Protocol as an instrument of an environmental governance that had led the elimination of sustenance that destroys the ozone layer. The Secretary General of Ministry of Housing, Urban step taken by the nation of the world and emphasize the role of the ozone layer and measures taken at both international and national levels. And now let's move on continental news. Democratic Republic of Congo. The CNE has published the final list of presidential candidates of December 23. This publication is not surprising. The heavyweights of the opposition already removed have not been drafted. As decided by the Constitution Court, Jean-Pierre Bemba and Adolphe Mzoto will not be able to participate in the December presidential elections due for Muso Kutumi, who has not even applied. Of the 25 applications registered, 6 were declared inadmissible by the CNE after litigations. 2 applications were recovered. A total of 21 candidates will compete. Here we arrive at the end of this news edition. Thank you for watching us. Goodbye.